to speed down the road, deciding she would consider the foolishness of her actions later. The loud sound of thunder blasting across the sky practically shook the house and awakened Derringer. He immediately felt a sharp pain slice through his body, the first since he'd taken his pain medication, which meant it was time to take more. Wrenching at the pain, he slowly pulled himself up in bed, reached across the nightstand, and grabbed the pills his sister Megan had laid out for him. She'd said not to take more before 6, but a quick glance at his clock said that it was only 4, and he needed the relief now. He was aching all over, and his head felt as if it had split in two. He felt 63, instead of a mere 33. He had been on Sugarfoot's back less than 3 minutes when the mean-spirited animal had sent him flying. More than his ego had gotten bruised, and each and every time he breathed against what felt like broken ribs, he was reminded of it. Derringer eased back down onto the bed and laid flat on his back. He stared at the ceiling, waiting for the pain pills to kick in. Derringer's dungeon. Lucia slowed her truck when she came to the huge wooden marker in the road. Any other time she would have found it amusing that each of the Westmorelands had marked their property with such fanciful names. Already she had passed Jason's Place, Zane's Hideout, Canyon's Bluff, Stern's Stronghold, Riley's Station, and Ramsey's Web. She'd heard when each Westmoreland reached the age of 25, they inherited a 100-acre tract of land in this part of the state. That was why all the Westmorelands lived in proximity to each other. She nervously gnawed on her bottom lip, finally thinking she might have made a mistake in coming here when she pulled into the yard and saw the huge 2-story structure. This was her first time at Derringer's dungeon, and from what she'd heard, most women only came by way of an invite. So what was she doing here? She brought her car to a stop and cut off the engine, and just sat there a moment as reality set in. She had acted on impulse and, of course, on love. But the truth of the matter was that she had no business being here. Derringer was probably in bed resting. He might even be on medication. Would he be able to come to the door? If he did, he would probably look at her as if she had 2 heads for wanting to check on him. In his book, they were acquaintances, not even friends. She was about to back out and leave when she noticed the rain had started to come down harder, and a huge box that had been left on the steps of the porch was getting wet. The least she could do was to move it to an area on the porch where the rain couldn't touch it. Grabbing her umbrella out of the back seat, she hurriedly got out of the truck and ran toward the porch to move the box closer to the door. She jumped at the sound of thunder and drew in a sharp breath when a bolt of lightning barely missed the top of her head. Remembering what Chloe had once told her about how the Westmoreland men were notorious for not locking their doors, she tried the doorknob and saw what her best friend had said was true. The door was not locked. Slowly opening the door, she stuck her head in and called out in a whisper, in case he was downstairs sleeping on the sofa instead of upstairs. "Derringer?" When he didn't answer, she decided she might as well bring the box inside. The moment she entered the house, she glanced around, admiring his sister Gemma's decorating skills. Derringer's home was beautiful, and the floor-to-ceiling windows took full advantage of the mountain view. She was about to ease back out the door and lock it behind her when she heard a crash, followed by a bump, and then a loud curse. Acting on instinct, she took the stairs 2 at a time and stumbled into several guest bedrooms before entering what had to be the master bedroom. It was decorated in a more masculine theme than all the others. She glanced around, and then she saw him lying on the floor, as if he'd fallen out of bed. "Derringer!" She raced over to him and knelt down beside him, trying to ignore the